Good morning, Paul. How are you?
Hi there. I am good, thank you.
Excellent.
How did you like Google Meet yesterday?
I did not.
Neither did I. I could only see I could only see
But
8 people on the screen, and I've got a 27-inch iMac.
I know you and I are on. I don't have a 27, but I've got a big one. And yeah, it was frustrating. I think Tina was frustrated as well. And then I was like, well, maybe I'll be helpful and I'll just sneak off and figure out how to launch breakout rooms. And that was a 4-minute video. I'm like, okay, forget it. I'm out. I am thinking about moving this meeting out of Zoom and into Circle. So if you remember, we tried to use Circle a while ago
Yeah.
when they first released it, and it was
Horrid.
not optimal. But if I can, Zoom does a great job, right?
It does. I
And
have
it's
no
not
idea if it's
$2, so
Chinese
I
or
guess
not, and all my data is being absconded, but what the heck?
what the heck. Steve Duke, how are you, man?
I'm okay. How are you guys?
Great.
Great.
George, I sent you an invite to take a discovery assessment.
I saw it. I simply have not had a chance to
Okay.
respond. I was here late last night.
I
it's
figured
always
you would
good.
be.
It's good to balance time at the office with time at home. So I have not. I got up and running about half an hour ago this morning. I saw your email and I will
Okay,
respond.
good. Sometimes I go into that magic spam and bulk and other folders.
What I love is Google keeps like, Steve is not in your organization. I'm like, I know. Can I turn this notification off, please? Get this big yellow, like,
Oh yeah.
doesn't most email go outside of the organization? So I'm going to figure out how to turn that off. Anyway, technology.
Yeah.
Guys, I don't know who's going to, well, we're just at 9:30. So what's going on in your respective worlds?
Well, I've got some interesting statistics that I can share now with using a dialing for dollars company out of Milwaukee. They've actually been making dials for the last 3 weeks now for me.
Okay.
And got some interesting statistics there that I can share and what their particular approach is.
Love to hear it. Love to hear it. Oh, high and tight. Love the haircut, David.
Hey, well, I had to get it before my vacation because you go on those hikes with longer hair and it's just too much.
Yeah, I'm so with you. Nothing drives me more bananas, and no hair isn't optimum, but yeah. Larry, did you get a haircut as well?
No. I just put some water on a comb and pressed it down. Yesterday I didn't do it. It was fluffy.
Too funny. Hey, Paul, you were starting to say you have some
Yeah,
stats.
I'm pulling it up right now,
Oh,
so
cool.
so I can easily share it when we get a couple more people on board here.
Paul's
I have a 10 o'clock meeting, George.
Okay, great. Now, what I was hoping, while Paul pulls that up, what I was hoping to discuss this morning is the conference. Having just come back from the Business Enterprise Institute conference, which was well worth the time and the investment. It's not a huge investment, right? But it's at the Four Seasons in Denver. It's where they seem to have them until further notice. And the event was great. 3 different tracks, about 160 people there. A nice overlap with what we do. And so we'll see. We'll see about next year. I may actually sponsor and see if we can. Well, we'll see. But it was a great conference, guys.
Well, I was going to ask you about that anyway, George, so I could live vicariously through you. So good.
It's always a good
I'll
trip.
post a bunch of pictures in Circle. I had a wonderful time. I met Yeah, just what a great group of people. As you know, as is typical at a conference, but you know, very engaged, very clearly a healthy community. But put it that way.
Oh.
And,
So
and we'll see.
Denver's a fun, I enjoyed going to Denver last time I was there.
Yeah. I left the hotel to walk across the street to the Nickel to have dinner once. Other than that, you know, Uber to the hotel, Uber back to the airport, and that was it. But if you've got to be in a building, the Four Seasons is kind of okay.
Yeah.
It was great. Paul, do you have those stats up? There it is.
Now. So I've hired a company out of Milwaukee to do some outreach for me. They actually started making phone calls 3 weeks ago now. Maybe 4 actually. I've had 3 weeks worth of data. So this is the 4th week right now. And what they do is first they send an email out. Then they call, and if they don't get the person, they'll leave a voicemail. Then they'll send another email. Then they'll make a call with no voicemail. Then they'll do another email. Then they'll do another call with voicemail, and then another email with follow-up. So it's a lengthy 7-step process that they have for what they're doing. I see Larry is studying it closely.
I'm almost in the screen.
Did you follow that, Larry?
Yeah.
You got that?
Yeah. I followed it.
So it's something that there's no way I would ever do. It is what it amounts to. Then here's a report that I get from them each week. So the first week, they're concentrating on they made 150 dials for the week. So that's 30 dials a day. They actually, here last week, they connected with 12 people. I got 0 appointments out of it. 2 people asked for follow-ups, you know, send an email, you know, or get out of here kind of thing. 0 information requests. 8 people said of the 12 said they're not interested on the call. 1 they determined was a not qualified individual, and 1 they said was the customer wasn't qualified.
Hey, Paul, what service are you selling or offering?
This is LX Counsel.
Okay, thank you.
Then what's kind of interesting, I have 12 copies of the audio recordings of the calls. So I've gone through and I've listened to these, and you know, this one guy said he's on vacation, call back. This one, there was a recording problem. This one said, I'm not quite the right person, but referred to the correct person. This one said they'd been in a group for 20 years, terrific experience, but they're winding down their career. Hey guys, that want to do exit planning, there's a transaction to be had. This one had not heard of peer groups. He's got a good team and board of directors. I'll follow up with him on a different perspective. This one asked, who's this? Unable to understand. But he said he had no trouble making decisions and had not heard of peer groups. This guy probably talked for an hour, for almost 2 minutes. He says he gets too many calls in general. He didn't identify as a manufacturer, but he's in transportation because he puts beds on the back of chassis for truck beds and flat beds and things like that. But they had their own organization that he mentioned. I'll check that out. These 2 people are husband and wife, and they're hard to deal with. I know them. I've talked with them many times at trade shows, and they didn't seem to be interested. This guy just said not interested. One of the questions here was, what does business accelerants do? Take me off the list. Well, this happens to be an individual I know personally here in Portland who runs a company making salt for food, different flavored salts. So that was interesting. And then this one hadn't heard of the groups. This was the distributor, not a manufacturer. So it's kind of interesting. I had only one appointment so far out of the 3 weeks, and that person didn't show up. I expect that he said he'd have a meeting only to get the door opener off the phone. So still have some hopes. They're focusing right now, and this is my own list of companies. This isn't their list. So I gave them the list with the contacts from using Zoom Info and my own database. So.
And how much are they costing? Like, is it how do you pay them? Is it per month?
Monthly. So the first 2 months in developing the messaging and the emails and training the salesperson who's going to be making the calls. The first 2 months were 2,000 and 2,000. And then now that they're starting to call, it's 5,000 a month. I'm committed only to 2 months of calls, and then I can decide whether to proceed or not. And, they're working a list like I would never work a list. I'd make one phone call, and, if I didn't get the person or something, I'd never try calling again, probably.
Yeah.
Do you have, after 3 weeks, a sense of where this is going? Continue, don't continue? Obviously, you're not satisfied yet with the results. What are you feeling and thinking now?
So the calls are being made in August. Okay, I expected that wouldn't be the greatest of months. With 150 dials and getting 19 people to answer each of the first 2 weeks, that's pretty good. They tell me.
Statistically, yeah.
So that's not bad. So I'll definitely go through at least one more month, and I'm trying to make sure I've got the money to maybe continue it another 2 months beyond that.
What is the objective for them?
Get a person on my calendar.
Okay.
That's
I know, Paul, we've talked about it. Yep.
That's their goal here, but compared to the company in the Philippines that I used, this is a much more thorough and trackable, accountable approach that they're doing.
But ultimately, you're trying to sign up people for your ALEX councils.
Correct. That's my ultimate goal, not just get a
I realize that maybe
schedule.
like a few steps later, but the initial goal is just to get a face to face.
And all of these people on my list have been warmed up through my sending out once or twice a month emails, and I can track whether or not they have opened the emails or not. So it's cold calling, yes, but not entirely, because you saw some of those people I know personally. So interesting.
It's interesting.
Hey, Paul,
Yes, sir.
just a little feedback on that. I spent 10 years doing that very thing with Vistage, right?
Yeah.
And it's really, we over a period of time really felt like Vistage was whoring out the market in Columbus, because they would try to prop up a new chair and they do all this telemarketing effort and then kind of wear everybody out. And so what we found over a period of time, what works well is really be very specific on what kind of, assume that your members are connected to the local community. Is that not the case?
No, I'm going national. So
Okay,
these are
yeah,
people
so-
all over the United States.
Yeah. So our strategy wouldn't necessarily be as good, because what we were trying to do is round out a group that met in person.
Right.
And I'm looking for what would be nice to have someone else at the table, like a manufacturer, somebody with a different experience. And
Right.
the whole thought is you present this missing chair exercise, just essentially get them to think about who do we know in pharmaceuticals that could be here. Now you could do it on a national level, but I think it's going to be challenging to get the team to take ownership of the team being their team. And we talk about it as you go from a kind of a community where we're just coming to get together and seeing a couple resources, and then we go our own way, to Armed and Dangerous was the ultimate goal. And Armed and Dangerous is they saw the group that in this particular case, their group is their group, and they're incentivized to fill the group with people that they know, love, and trust, and
Yeah.
can respect from opinion side. So anywho, it's
Yeah.
just, I find
What-
that a member referral is just awesome. And you know, this is a great way to kind of what you're doing now, just to get some going, but that member referral is gold. So whoever
Yeah.
you can promote that along
That'll
the
be
way.
that'll be a couple years from now. Before I get to
It's
member
not easy,
referral.
but you got to stay with it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, marketing directly to CEOs is, been a perennial for all of us, right? We all of our email inboxes in the morning, we go through boop, 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 erase. And, but if you have a name, having warmed it up, Paul, I think that's at least you're not a complete stranger.
Yeah. Well, where I can get
That's
referrals,
very cool, man.
where I
Yeah.
can get referrals is my complete list of people in my contact database is 6,000. And, they can be anybody from a business development person to a head of engineering or a design engineer, compliance engineer. And so they can potentially give me referrals.
Yeah,
Potentially, I say. Most of them don't.
yeah.
So we're just meeting with Ed this morning, and we're talking through the delivery of this Clarity 2. Not only is very similar, in fact, to what you're doing with the LX Council on a one-to-one basis. So you don't have the peer group piece of it, but if you're doing the one-to-one coaching with the
Yeah.
owner, it's almost identical. So what I would be wondering, are we focusing, I see as a great use of my time to focus on clarity and growth drivers and getting that done. And you essentially, you'll get around to the LX Council. LX Council are the people that are already in the growth drive, and you're putting them together in a peer group environment. So maybe, I'm kind of looking at some point that I would have a massive group of influenced clients that I could put in the room together, and they're both sharing the same common language that they went through because they're members of the growth drivers. They're graduate of the growth driver program. So I'm kind of looking at the back end, building that team on the back end versus the front end. So just a thought.
It's interesting if we think of, so one of the great ways to help CEOs understand the power of a peer group is to get them into a test drive, right? Get them into a meeting.
Sure.
And we know from long experience that a CEO workshop marketing event using a tool like Clarity Level 1 has a powerful conversion rate. And I can't help but wonder out loud whether running a test meeting, or in the parlance pick'em, which is an acronym, not a verb, running a test meeting, sort of intersecting that with a CEO workshop marketing event. So how do we run a test meeting using Clarity Level 1, at the end of which we say, okay, well, these are challenges, opportunities, problems, and ideas in, as Joe just said, this common language, because as soon as we have a common language, we have a common referral point. So a manufacturer and a dentist can be having a conversation on the same growth driving objective. And I cannot help but wonder what it would look like to have a CEO workshop marketing event using Clarity 1 to recruit into a peer group.
Yeah. So
go ahead.
you guys
Paul.
all have seen, I've put together 3 different interactive workshops, kind of in order. One is why do you do the things you do? The other is the peer advisory council. And the third is Clarity Level 1 type stuff. And so if the CEO comes to any one of them, they're introduced in a sense to the other two opportunities that they have. And yes, it's quite possible that doing the clarity might drive somebody to go into a peer advisory council.
Yes. Yes.
Now, specifically doing it in the call approach and changing the scripts so that the scripts were trying to get somebody to a clarity workshop, that could be done.
Yeah, it could be done. You know, I don't know. I'm just wondering out loud.
Well,
Larry.
just to jump in, I think to kind of connect the dots in one workshop, clarity identifies particular things. The question then is, in part 2 of that workshop, once you've identified 2 or 3 priorities, what are the best ways to address them? And one is to learn from your peers and be with your peers. And so you here, it's a double opportunity using clarity. And then here is, okay, we could do a deeper dive, or here is indoor is a peer group, because a peer group is a proven way of addressing the challenges, looking at opportunities to grow your business.
Yeah.
So, and this comes from conversations from George, from the Thrive group with the LX Council, and from other conversations with LX Council on how to use in a workshop like clarity, like whatever other tool, and to go down that path leading to LX Council group.
Yeah.
There's a couple who are trying it. I think John Forster, George.
Yep. John's having terrific results. Stephen Cummings, who's not on this call, is running workshops and crushing. Now he's trying to get people into his advisory, to engage with his advisory services. But same but different. I need to put a date on the calendar and start these podcasts, but Steve will be one of the first guys in the conversation, because he says, I put one on, I get a minimum of one. He's got it down. He's getting a minimum of one engagement out of each workshop. But he works like you guys all do. He works incredibly hard personally to get people, qualified CEOs in the workshop. And
I had lunch with him on vacation because he lives up.
Oh, did you? Awesome. He's such a great guy.
Yeah. Well, he's the guy that actually inspired me to get into like exit planning and all that stuff. So
oh, really?
He's an amazing guy.
He really is. He really is. Yeah, he'll be down in Fort Lauderdale. He's booked and coming. Hey,
David, so
similar.
you just
Go ahead.
changed your vacation to an offsite retreat that's deductible.
Hey, David, you're going hiking soon, right? Where are you going to be? Where are you going to?
Oh, I've already gone on vacation. So
you've gone. Okay, you've gone and back. Cool. And it was great.
Yeah, it was amazing. So actually, because he lives up in cottage country, Stephen. So I said, well, I'm going to pop into your little town anyways. So you can come join me if you want to. So we had a really good conversation, and it's like this little patio that overlooks it's a port, so it overlooks a dock. So nice. We had a really good conversation, and it was a great week.
Very cool. Very cool. Hey, I'm going to weave something else into our conversation here, if it's okay with you guys. So out at the Business Enterprise Institute, I'm emphasizing that because it is about, yes, they have an exit planning credential, but this was a conference about a lot more than it was also about exit planning. It was about a lot more than exit planning. They had fascinating speakers. One of them was a workshop I did on the first day. Was it one of you on this call who came back and reported on having heard Kevin Knebel, Knebl, speak? I was in an all-day workshop with him, and he is the number one top-rated guru on leveraging social media And I'm considering having it. It is a very compelling talk, very compelling. And I'm considering asking Kevin to come in virtually to Fort Lauderdale on that Monday morning, if enough people are going to be, well, even if you're not in town, as long as you're not traveling at that time period, if we're doing virtually, we can include, the world.
How do you spell his name, George?
Knebl. He, in a nutshell, he believes in using social media and in being yourself. And as he puts it, not trying to jam your tongue, his words, not mine, but it's not trying to kiss on the first date. And he talks about, prospects being able to smell your commission breath and how he's really an entertaining speaker, but his point's a good one. Listen, connect with people, start a conversation, and be yourself. And it really resonated. And he says, use LinkedIn, create a list of 75 or so people you really want to talk to. You have 3 levels: really, 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 and really, and start messaging them on a tempo. And there are 4 different ways to message. And it's a system. There are people in the room who have used his system who are knocking the leather off the ball. It's low dollars. Once you get it rolling, it's low time. And once you get it rolling, like Paul's calling program, which I've run a bullpen, will generate results as long as you have the time to stay with it. But it was really interesting. You might want to check him out. He's obviously on LinkedIn. Kevin Knebl, Knebl. He's funny. He's irreverent. I really like the guy. And
Does he have a book?
he does not. Contributing co-author, The Social Media Sales Revolution. Now McGraw-Hill called him to write. He's the #1 LinkedIn guy. He got onto LinkedIn 60 days after it started. And he is a big believer in, death to the elevator pitch. Just show up and say, hey, I'm Steve Duke. What's going on? And, I'm simplifying, but, don't, and he admonishes, don't bring up your services. Talk to them, get them talking about themselves. Because at some point in that conversation, they're going to ask you, anyhow, what do you do? And what you should answer is, don't tell them what you do. He has an entire, I've got pages of notes.
I just threw into the chat a link that he's got an hour-long YouTube
There you go.
out there that they billed it as humorous presentation. It's from 2018. I saw another 40-minute one from 2022. So you can.
He was fantastic. He did a full day workshop, and then he did the keynote. And both, he obviously there was some overlap, but anyway, it was interesting because he's talking about using tools that are low dollars, and that have you're talking about some very successful people sitting in the room saying, yeah, I was skeptical, I tried it, and it works. Well, of course, starting conversations works, right? And his mantra, and somebody just said it, Joe did, know, like, trust. Everything is getting to know, like, trust. And Joe, you have a disco. You got a disco
through the car wash.
We need to fire up the Bee Gees.
Car wash.
Car wash. I love it.
You know what's interesting, George?
Yeah.
That approach is when you go to networking events, or we go to
Yes.
networking events, to show up, shake your hand, and say, hey, help me, that doesn't work.
No.
They have to know you, they have to like you, they have to trust you in relationship. It could take 6 months, it could take a year. You got to feel the moment. So I think what he's doing is taking that approach and applying it to social media, because we get bombarded.
Yeah.
And what you're doing, Paul, and what I do is bombarding others with wanting a call. Well, why should I have a call?
Yeah.
And peer group. What the heck is it? I'm a
Why
member.
would I talk about that?
So there's so much noise in the system. It's hard to break through. So I'm interested in seeing how this guy does it. I got his
Well, what's-
website up, and Paul, thanks, I'll look at
Yeah,
that.
check him out. His ABC system, I'm building my list of 75 right now. And then he has a tempo that he recommends. It is very straightforward. And he said, you just have to just stay with it. It will, yeah, I'm telling you, in month 2, you will get your first, I guarantee you'll get your first, bona fide, full on, the person has asked you to meet them type of meeting. One other thing, if we think about, Larry, to pick up on what you just said, if we think about Ford, right? And do you guys, has anybody gone out and used Ford with family, friends, cocktail party, business, business? Yeah. It works, right? It's a simple, it reminds us to be human. And his point is, we're all human beings, and not everybody's going to respond to your outreach. Not everyone's going to like the way you talk. You got to run, Larry. Hey, man. But the law of averages, if you have a rolling list of 75, and people will drop off and people will come on. But he said, everyone you meet in life, you should try to connect with on LinkedIn, but you send them a personal message. And not, hey, I think you might be a candidate for my services. Of course, they're a candidate for your services, but that's starting the conversation, assuming they know, like, and trust you. First, you have to create know, like, trust. And it really resonated with me. I think as one of the tools in our arsenal, if you think about, he said, once you roll this out, right? Once you get it up and running and you've pegged, you've hit 3, 4, 5 people in a morning, it doesn't take long to get your 75 rolling, and you're on a cadence and you're setting in your calendar. Hey, 30 days from now, I'm going to email Paul. I'm going to call Paul. I'm going to send Paul that, what this is. He writes you a note, not about business, just a funny note. For him, a funny note. You might write a note about whatever. He puts it in an envelope and he mails it. I send best investment, cards. I don't know if any of you have received one from me, but I send them out routinely, not as routinely as I should, but routinely. And they essentially always, I'd say always, but I'm an attorney. They essentially always get a response. And on I don't say, hi, I'm George, hire me. Thanks for coming to the webinar. Hey, love the book you recommended. Whatever. It's, how do we create a human connection? And if we do it with enough people, law of averages being what it is, it's just like Paul's calls, 450 calls so far. Law of averages, you're gonna break through. And we don't need 100 sales qualified leads, right? We need 10 sales qualified leads. Need to run. David, have a great week, man. So anyway, I'll get off but as you can tell, I was excited about what this gentleman had to say. So we'll see if he has the time and we can make it work. I'd love to have him either on Monday morning or Monday afternoon, interact with us at the conference, share his system. So
I talked to a sort of a contrarian earlier this week. Or was it last week? Last week, I guess. But in any event, and I'll probably end up chatting with him some more. But he's I guess, a communication expert, and he's contrarian. He's not 100% believer in the know, like, and trust, and he definitely doesn't believe in the technique that most gurus say you should apply to LinkedIn. Obviously, no is a given. Otherwise, yeah, you're not even there. But he focuses on the word trust and being authentic and providing value. So, I mean, we probably all hired people or engaged with people who we didn't particularly like, but they were immensely valuable. So, okay.
Yeah. But I'm trying not to, I agree. Trust is the key here, right? Trust comes from knowing someone or having a referral, right? But trust is the key. But I will say that, are you going to hire someone you don't like that you dislike? probably not, unless you have the proverbial gun to your head.
Yeah, I think it's probably just more of a, when he was talking to me, more of a point of it. Trust is a thing that he emphasizes.
Yeah, and he's right.
That is the foundation. So,
Yeah, which is, yes, because we're gonna ask people.
I'm hearing, Steve, that in the business world, know and trust are the important things. You don't have to like your client.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
We often,
just another example, his LinkedIn posts are voluminous, which any LinkedIn guru will tell you, it needs to be about this big because everyone's got the attention span of a goldfish. But he says, okay, but I'm doing it this way and I'm getting boatloads of clients because they like what I'm writing. And now marketing people are coming to me for advice and counsel. So, oh, by the way.
it's interesting. So one of the things that Kevin advocates is, listen, if you have, so for example, in that opening paragraph, and I guys, talk about dumb luck. I'm sitting in the front because I'm a dork and I love this stuff. And he can read my name tag. So who does he call on? To George, let's pull up your LinkedIn profile. Now I'm in a room full of potential growth trackers, right?
Yep. And
he pulls up my LinkedIn profile, goes up there, and he starts critiquing. He's like, do you mind if I pick it apart? And I'm like, no, have at it. So we spent the whole day or much of the day with either my LinkedIn profile or the Growth Drive website up on the Jumbotron, which
What free advertising?
this is only a small part of the cards I walked out of here with.
Was that a $5,000 ad?
Right? I pulled him aside afterwards. I'm like, man, that was the best product placement. I couldn't have paid for better product placement. It was awesome. And then, what Kevin is representative, and it's kind of what we do at our conferences, right? Not on that scale, but I'll call them out by name. They had Kevin, they had a doctor named Allie. I'm embarrassed that I don't have her last name, but I'll put her in circle. She gave a talk. She is a psychologist, a psychiatrist, a psychologist who gets brought in. I wish Barry was on this call. You guys have all seen this, right? And the client needs to be talked off the ledge. And she gets brought in early in the process to help to make sure that the client isn't going to freak out at the deal table. So, that they have made friends with the fact that they're leaving the business, that they do have an existence outside of their company. And for a lot of us anyway, and then a gentleman who is great, Scott Bushke, with Cornerstone up in Wisconsin. But they do business nationally with pre-middle market, mostly pre-middle market businesses. They're an M&A firm, but Scott gave a talk about over lunch about the same issue. How do we properly prepare people? It's the equity value planning conversation. Sure, I'm an investment banker, but how much are you going to need to get out? And I'm not going to be involved, but my man Steve here, or my gal Marie, or Anna, whatever is going to help you. But let's identify what you need and what you're going to do, what this looks like afterwards. And he has a terrific resource that we'll probably have as show tchotchke. Tchotchke is not giving it enough respect, as a valuable resource that you'll be able to carry away from the show. He's written a little slip of a book with a workbook, a companion workbook that you can give to clients that is fantastic. That's exit centric. Like I said, a lot of this was not exit planning. And I finally met John Binney, and we spent a lot of time, just one or two glasses of Pinot Noir, one or two, together, just hamming it up. It was a great conference. We need to finalize the agenda for our conference. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Maybe we can get together, just set an hour and workshop it later this week or next week. Talk about what you guys would value, and because that's the name of the game. And we have a draft agenda sketched out, but we can start nailing it down and with plenty of time, if we want to bring in speakers, which, you know, I'm talking about Kevin, right? Which we probably want to do. Thoughts on that? You guys game?
I'm game.
Cool. Thank you. Vincent's game. Vincent, is that, what's the emblem on your hat there?
Charlevoix Golf Club, where I live.
Okay. Okay. From a distance, it looks like the great seal of the President of the United States. You've been promoted, man. Not a job. No, not a job.
No.
Yeah, the job I'd want.
Yeah, yeah. One of the industries I would never get into, which would be politics.
Couldn't agree with you more.
Yeah.
So nail down our conference, and hey, also just while I'm having free flow, I don't want to dominate the microphone. I put a bunch of orientation videos in Circle. I'll put them. But that was the easiest place to load them. I will actually put them into a knowledge base on the website. Frustratingly, they're nice and crisp when they're small, but for some reason I think I'll be re-recording them. Can you guys tell me if you watch them and they look blurry? I don't know if they've rendered. If they look blurry on a bigger screen, then I will. They're easy to re-record. They're only, I think the longest one is 6 minutes. They're 2-3 minutes a piece.
When you're seeing them blurry, George, are they blown up on your computer?
Yeah.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Yeah.
If you just make it smaller on your computer, the blurriness goes away. If you've got a 720p recording and you blow it up on the computer, it's going to look fuzzy.
Yeah. I may get a higher quality, but then there's
Even with a 1024 like I use all the time, even that, if you blow it up on a big screen computer, it's going to be blurry.
Cool. Well, yeah, it didn't look blurry. Okay. Paul, I agree.
Hey, George,
Yes, sir.
did the lead gen thingy get issued yet?
It is not out yet, but we were working on it. We're working on a few cool things in Clarity. So lead gen, the guys are working on right now. And then there, you know, we have a dev roadmap. And then what we're going to do, you know, when I get through a couple of these next module, there are no more modules. There's lead gen, and then there's some capabilities. And then we'll have a conversation as a community, you know, what might we want that isn't here yet.
Hey,
And
George.
yeah.
Actually, I gotta say this. You said what we want, so I'm not sure what that is. Is that just? I booked one strategic capacity or CEO workshop for October.
Great.
And I literally have 4 more conversations to do them with financial advisors and their potential clients and prospects, or I should say clients and potential prospects. And one of them may be virtual.
That's
Like-
awesome.
Like I do the whole thing virtual.
Yep. That's outstanding. Any way I can help you prep for those.
Yeah, I was gonna reach out to you. I'm just touching up the presentation, and probably the end of this month, I'll be ready to kind of go through that. Just
That's
to
great.
get it ready. Kind of say, okay, here's what I've got. And
That's great.
I
It's
stole
the,
some stuff from Paul and you and put it together.
Awesome.
Why reinvent the wheel?
why reinvent the wheel? That's why, yeah,
It's-
right? Because I just had, so I had a long conversation with Craig West came and tracked me down. You know, what are you doing? What are you up to? They have capitalized out there. They are not competitive in any way, shape, or form. You know, where our conversation ended up is with both of us saying, you know, there's an immense market out there. You know, even if I was in Charlevoix, let's say Steve was in Charlevoix with Vincent, we still couldn't touch all the business owners, right? And there's an immense market. And I love hearing that you guys are collaborating. I mean, that's the name of the game. You guys are collaborating and sharing. That's what we're all about as growth drivers. It's one of our our guiding principles. And so thank you. I'm psyched to help you with that, Vincent. We'll have some fun.
I would agree. The market on this stuff is so wide open. The chances of stumbling over somebody are pretty thin to none.
Yeah.
It's just how much work do you want to do and what size companies you want to work with and go after them.
That's right.
That's
exactly right. The challenge is, to Paul's original point, is getting the CEO's attention is hard, and I think it's the name of the game is probably a variety of referrals like you just referred to. And being out, doing the things that promote you, the blogging, podcasts, the public speaking, etc.
Yeah, it's just boots. I call it boots on the ground. You just gotta, just a terminology I use, and that's just what I try to simplify it. I just don't look at it as any more complicated than that. It's not. It can be an arduous executional process, but I get most of my business, and when I say most, it's over 90% from other advisors, and most of them are from wealth managers. And I've got a couple CPA firms I work with, but I don't get any business from M&A people because it doesn't. Not that they're bad people, it just seems like they're so transactionally driven. It's hard to get them to slow down. They understand the concept of saying, hey, I've talked to 50 people this year, whatever the number is, and we only sold 8 companies. I said, yeah, but of the other 42 you got, I mean, you probably had 20 that you could have did some work and brought them back and filled your funnel. They won't do it. No.
There's a subset of M&A banks, and we're going to try to find them. The subset of M&A banks that are like Cornerstone are saying, hey, if we get engaged with the client early enough on, we're building a pipeline. Are we going to get all of those deals? No, but are we going to get a lot of them? Sure. And does that make that then we can get into a whole conversation about the
Speaking of your business cards, something on AI came across my phone this weekend, and I talked to my nephew who's in real estate about it on Sunday or Saturday or whatever. I took him out to dinner. Has anybody heard of DOT business cards?
Heard of them. I haven't investigated them though.
They are literally, I'm just going to call it a virtual business card. So you buy one business card. You could buy a couple more, but literally you would only need one. And if you're at some event and somebody wants your card, you take this, it looks like a credit card or debit card, and you tap the back of their phone, and you can program it to have your photo, all your social media, your contact information. It literally pops up on their phone and they save it, and now you're in their system.
I did not know that was a thing.
I did not know until, I don't even know if I might have been thinking, but it's just like literally it had to be AI, because it literally just like popped up on my phone, and now I see it all over the place.
Well, can you guys,
if
you grab your phone, do you see this? This is my business card. And on the back of it is a QR code. And this is a dynamic QR code, meaning I can change it at any time. And if you scan it, you'll see that this one has sign up for lead generator, meet with George, and some additional information. And
is the lead generator linked with Clarity ready yet?
Not yet, but the guys are working on it. So that's my next call, and actually in just a few minutes. And we are working on it. We are working on it. It's going to be cool. I think it'll be very, very valuable for you, which is why I'm investing in creating it.
That's awesome.
There we go. Joe's on it as well. Guys, there's a company out there called Beacon Stack, Beacon, STAC, all one word. Beacon Stack does dynamic QR codes. It's low dollars. You can have a bunch of them. So I have one. QR codes go stale, right? They only go to one website. So if you want to keep updating that one landing page, but you're stuck with that one landing page, what Beacon Stack does is create a dynamic code, and those dynamic codes you can change. You can put whatever you want behind it. So we have one in the book, and just met with Forbes, by the way. Great meeting. More on that later, but you know, they don't go stale. So that's my plug. But to your point, Vincent, I had at the conference with this QR code, just at the conference, I picked these up the day before I left town. I had 43 people go in and sign up for stuff. When was the last time? I mean, that's like essentially every card I gave out. So
yeah, and that's what was so appealing about this dot, because to their point, they have a QR code, plus you can just scan into their phone. It's like you have one card, you don't ever have to print any more cards, and you can go into their website and change your data anytime you want. But I think
that card,
that stuff is cool.
That is cool.
You still coming to Michigan this fall in October, September, whenever it was?
It's me.
Yeah, I know what you coming?
Yeah.
October, right?
Correct.
Awesome.
October 21st to 28th, I'll be in your area.
Okay.
So does that mean you got half gun will travel? The deer season opens up.
Not for me. Deer season, I thought it's closer to Thanksgiving.
It's funny down here.
Well,
It's already
doesn't it-
started.
I thought in Michigan it starts that early.
It's always two-legged deer season in Michigan, but four-legged deer season starts in November, right around Thanksgiving.
Yeah, bow season is
2
Yeah.
weeks in advance. 2
Yeah.
weeks of the guns advance
Well,
of the
it's-
gun season.
it's
Well, we now know something more about you, Ed. You're a hunter, huh?
I am not. I've never shot a gun in my life. And the only comment I can make is that when my dad was 99 years old, he was a avid deer hunter, and he hunted with my nephew, who at the time was 40. And so they'd go out to Bristol Mountains, which is just southern part of New York State. And they get there about 7:15, and my dad would get out and start to put the liniment on his legs, the liniment on his back, the liniment on his shoulders, then put his heavy duty boots on and everything. And then he'd get himself all dressed up, and you can't shoot before 8 o'clock. So he gets done, and he's finally about 5 after 8, closes up the car, goes out, goes in, gets his gun out. The deer walks down the road, he shoots the deer, goes back in the car. My cousin who had left at 7 to go out to get into the blind didn't see a deer all day. And my dad said, well, the only one I had was the one that came at me, and I shot him.
I could literally shoot them in my front backyard, but since we live on a golf course, I don't hunt though, but
our golf course has got the same problem.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm
well, better
more
deer
concerned
than
about
geese,
that eating
right?
my flowers and plants than I am. I don't have a gun, so I have to find the things that keep them out of our landscaping.
The perennial battle.
The perennial
Yeah.
battle. Yes. Yeah.
Well, deer season is open down here, but at 93 degrees, it does not feel that appealing. Well, guys, I'm going to get ready for my call with the engineers.
Thank you.
Great conversation, guys. Marketing,
Thanks.
conferences, CEO workshops. Thank you.
George,
And,
I updated that information, so go ahead and redo that.
Okay, 10-4. Thank you.
Okay.
All
Thanks,
right, guys.
everybody, for the
Thanks.
If
ideas.
there's
Appreciate
anything
it.
I can do to help you,
Thank you.
let me know. Okay. Thanks,
Bye.
guys. Be
Bye.
well. Bye.